No one, and I mean absolutely no one, saw this coming with the Switch 2 announcements in the Nintendo Direct that just happened. And we didn't see it coming because those of us who knew about the game at all considered it completely and utterly dead and buried and decomposed and abandoned and forgotten about, and the gravesite whizzed on by EA executives. Wild Hearts S was announced for Switch 2. But considering the original version of the game nuked basically every last scrap of goodwill, of benefit of the doubt, and player trust it had gathered in basically an instant, it might be a heck of an uphill battle for this game to succeed on the Switch 2. But if you're a Monster Hunter player who thinks the direction Wilds has taken is not what you wanted, and especially if you think Wilds is quote-unquote too easy, well, a possible redemption for Wild Hearts is something you should be paying very close attention to. Wild Hearts first launched on 16th of February 2023 on PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and Xbox Series S, and of course PC. But the player base imploded soon after launch, not because the game was bad, because it wasn't, but because it had an epically bad launch, like astonishingly bad. Like, think of all the bad launches you've ever heard about in video gaming. This is one of those. And the player abandonment could only snowball because there was a fairly heavy co-op factor in the game, especially for late game hunts. Like its inspiration Monster Hunter, it is just simply more fun in co-op. And while some developers could persevere and redeem their troubled launch games, famously, of course, No Man's Sky, Cyberpunk 2077, and even Fallout 76, all were more than redeemed for their awful launches in the eyes of their current player bases. Sadly, Koei Tecmo Games and their subdivision Omega Force, the developers of Wild Hearts, chose to publish their game through EA Originals. What an astonishingly stupid mistake that was. Because, of course, EA being the poison cancer of the games industry that they are, within 6 months after launch, the game was basically executed when EA pulled the support completely after it wasn't instantly the multi-gajillion dollar hit they hoped and wanted it to be. Like, they honestly expected it to be a Monster Hunter killer right out of the gate, first go. Jesus. They didn't even give it a chance at redemption. They didn't even give him a go. The game was barely 6 months old, and they just went, no, burn it down. Which was really sad and, of course, very, very frustrating for players who had paid their hard-earned into the game. Which, just for the record, when Wild Hearts was first revealed and I saw who was publishing it, my very first video ever about Wild Hearts, back in September 2022, was asking the question, will EA poison this Monster Hunter copycat? Once more, my mighty brain mind predicted the future perfectly. Perfectly. Despite that looming sword of Damocles that was EA, Wild Hearts did come with a lot of promise, but as I said, had a very bad launch that was plagued with performance issues across all platforms, none more so than PC, infuriating issues with settings, sound bugs, rendering bugs, and even a bug that could just irreparably brick your whole entire save file, just dead, gone. Now, this was the first game made with a then brand new in-house game engine, and clearly it just wasn't ready yet. But underneath all of those issues was a game with a lot of interesting things going on, which of course only made the issues and the community team's incompetence with clear and honest communication from the devs even more frustrating, compounding the aggravation from the player base. In fact, there are several features and gameplay mechanics that Wild Hearts had that are in fact now present in Monster Hunter Wilds itself. For example, seamless cross-platform multiplayer, which sure, we can't really say Capcom aped that directly from Wild Hearts. The player base of Monster Hunter was screaming and begging for that for years before Wild Hearts arrived, but fact is Wild Hearts got there first. But also much more specific things. Wild Hearts, for instance, had a system that is very, very close to Wild's new wound system. So you do enough damage to certain spots on a kimono, that's this game's name for monsters, and a glowing spot would appear. You could then do a special move to grapple onto that spot and interact with it to burst it with a mechanic called the Hunter's Arm, and you'd get a big splash of bonus damage for it, and you'd topple the monster. Does that sound familiar, Monster Hunter Wilds players? Because it should. It's basically the wound system. Wild Hearts also set itself apart from its Monster Hunter inspiration with tool use, gadgets, and rapid build structures called karakuri. These worked in battle as things like shield walls or traps or bombs or burst damage weapons and such, gigantic Looney Tunes comedy hammers, and out of battle you could use other ones for navigation and exploration around the map, reaching areas you couldn't ordinarily get to or just making shortcuts. It took a little bit of getting used to, but it was actually super duper fun. The game also had some very interesting twists on familiar weapons, like Great Sword, and a couple of weapons unlike anything Monster Hunter has ever seen. And again, if you were among those who complained that Wilds is too easy, well, Wild Hearts is a lot less forgiving, so you might want to give it a go on Switch 2 just for that factor. By the 22nd of February 2023 though, just a couple of weeks after launch, I published the last video I would ever make about the game, until today of course. And that video was about the patch that promised to fix a bunch of performance issues and bugs and whatnot, and it was just, in my own words back then, a complete garbage fire, and in fact made my game performance worse somehow, like worse by almost 10 FPS. It was ridiculous. I utterly lost my patience with it at that point and decided to walk away, but keep an eye on it and give them time to fix it and maybe revisit it in a few months perhaps after several more patches. But, just as we've discussed, that never happened because the game was killed. EA just put a knife right through its throat. And man, back on the subject of EA, the community managers, which were EA, were really bad, sleazy, liars, and only responding to positive posts and being very evasive when asked about anything to do with the game's many issues actually being fixed. I was in fact banned from the official creators Discord for this game because I wouldn't let up on them. I wouldn't be a sycophant for them. And one of the community managers in particular, called Wolf Hands, got a really bad reputation for being a bit of a dodgy cunt, really. Ask any OG players who are present in the Discords, official or otherwise, or even in the subreddit. Wolf Hands. You can't trust that guy. I don't know what he's doing these days, but oh my god. That guy was just poison to the community. And all of that, of course, only added again to the frustration and exasperation and unwillingness of an overwhelming majority of the player base to have patience with them, and they, like me, rapidly abandoned the game forevermore. Or so we thought. But now we come back to today with the shocking announcement of the new version of the game made for Nintendo Switch 2. And despite all the issues and infuriation, when I published my original review at launch, I did call this a very good game, a match or better than Monster Hunter in many ways, although some of those ways have now been caught up with by Monster Hunter Wilds, like seamless cross-platform play for instance. So, as I noted in my Switch 2 reveal overview video, when I noted the complete lack of an EA logo anywhere near the announcements, or the new official trailer on the Koei Tecmo official YouTube channel, I had a little spark of hope. Not all of the problems were EA's, of course, but EA was one of the causes why the problems never got fixed. So, freed from EA's horse crap and working quietly until the announcement of not just a port of the original game, but some sort of updated version of the game, as indicated by the S suffix to the title, we might actually be on a path of redemption for this game and the IP in general, and I really hope so, because it was genuinely super fun underneath the bugs and performance issues and frustrations, and I really wanted it to be successful enough to inspire sequels as such, where it could be further mechanically refined, because there is something here with this game. There is something special here. And you have to imagine they're not going to be compounding their reputational loss by slacking off on making sure the Switch 2 version really runs very well as it possibly can, and more importantly, reliably. And as we've already caught glimpses of in the trailer, there is at least a few new and enhanced features, like expanding a hunting party to 4 players instead of the 3-member limit the original game had. I will be keeping an eye on it for sure, to see what else has been changed and enhanced, and it's not too long to wait either, with a release date of July the 25th, so it's definitely a launch window game for the Switch 2, if not launch day. And really, despite them sort of blowing up their reputation, we do kind of have to give full credit to the devs, who obviously have not given up on the game. Obviously, they've got passion enough for this game to try and use the Switch 2 hype train to get a second chance at making this game a success that I think it genuinely deserves if it and the devs can earn back the trust of the players. And I'm going to leave you with my own words on that topic from the last time I spoke about this game at the end of February 2022, as I was abandoning it for, I thought, forever, just a couple of weeks after launch. I will still sing the praises of this game on its own merits as a game, on its gameplay merits, because I genuinely enjoy it a lot. But from here on in, the devs and the community managers do not get even one scrap, not one particle of my personal stock of benefit of the doubt. That bridge is burned. And I feel like I've been pretty generous to this point on that score, even just a couple of days ago when discussing the then still incoming promises and patch. This experience has soured that completely. They can't be trusted anymore. You can't take them at their word. From this point on, it is show, don't tell, and nothing is true until it is shown, until it is in the hands of the gamers. And that is really disappointing because, again, I really like this game. So to be this soured on any interaction with the community management team or the devs themselves, to have trust broken this severely, this early on in the game, is frankly quite disappointing. Hardly unheard of in this industry, but still disappointing. I like to have hope. I like to enjoy things.